Hey, Larken Rose here. There are times when having an actual leader in humanity can be a useful thing for certain endeavors. And I mean actual leaders, not leaders as in political parasites that pretend to be leaders. If there's some bad thing going on or there's some problem and somebody stands up and says, here's the problem, here's what's wrong, this is not okay, we need to do something about this, I'm going to go do this, who's with me? And a lot of other people go, yeah, what he said, we agree with him. His description of the problem, dead on. His proposed solution, we like it, yay, we're going to follow him and go along with him. That can be a perfectly useful thing. Now, of course, politicians try to hijack people's tendency to follow such people to try to make a political version that has absolutely nothing to do with that. It's not about righteousness. It's not about people voluntarily following somebody who leads by example. It's about the state violently dominating people. But they still try to tap into people's willingness and even desire to have a leader. And so they pretend that they're the leader when they're just a giant frickin' parasite. And when somebody does that, if somebody's actually good at it, like a competent political liar, that's scary. That's a serious threat to humanity because they can get people to go rah, rah, rah for things that end up being very evil and destructive, as human history has demonstrated over and over and over and over and over again. But sometimes the people who try to play leader are weirdly, just pathetically bad at it. And yet some people try to lie to themselves enough to pretend it makes sense. And I'm going to start with the example of Joe Biden when he was president. Now, I will say this. In almost every other case, when somebody gets old and demented and starts losing their mind, I have sympathy for them. Joe Biden was always an evil, corrupt piece of shit and a victimizer of all sorts of people, so no, losing his mind doesn't make me suddenly think he's a good person or deserving of sympathy. If anybody doesn't deserve sympathy for losing his mind, it's Joe Biden, that evil piece of crap. If you don't know his political history and all his corruption, not even just the recent stuff when he was president, it goes back forever. He's a power-happy, just parasitical piece of crap. Be that as it may, so I'm not going to talk in sympathetic terms about him while he was losing his marbles, but the focus isn't even him here. It's the Democrats who were so into the mindset of your party and our party that they didn't want to admit you're cheering for a demented old psycho who can't form complete sentences. He doesn't know what's going on anymore. He was an evil piece of shit when he did know what was going on. Now he's incoherent, losing his marbles, and then the legacy media is out there. No, he's sharp as a tack behind closed doors. It's just when we turn a camera on that he turns into a babbling idiot. No, that was never true. But the fact that a bunch of people wanted to believe in him and wanted to cheer for him precisely because they were super scared of or mad at the other party and the other candidate. So they had their leader, and they could see, everybody could see their leader was this demented, old, falling apart, just husk of a human being. Like, even if he hadn't been an evil bastard his whole life, that's not a leader. He doesn't have a thought. He can barely read words off a teleprompter and have people understand what the hell he's trying to say. And the moment he goes off script, it turns into the weirdest crap you've ever heard. And nobody with a brain would listen to that and go, yeah, what he said, he's dead on. He's like, you're really expressing what we all feel with whatever the fuck you just said, that incoherent gibberish. Yeah, we all feel that. Does anybody know what the hell that meant? So it was people trying to pretend he's a leader and knowing he's not, which is a very weird thing to watch. And at some point it just becomes cringy and awkward. Like, why are you pretending this demented old psycho believes anything or is in charge of anything? Like, he doesn't have the mental wherewithal to even be making any decisions about anything. And obviously he's not. Other people are. It's like, oh, you believed the puppet show for a while, and then the strings broke, and now this crumpled up puppet is lying on the floor in the puppet theater, and you're still like, yeah, we believe in him. What do you mean? He's not doing anything. Obviously, he was controlled by other people, and now that's not even working. And you believe in the crumpled up puppet on the floor? Really? He's your hero that's going to lead you to salvation? So there's this pathetic spectacle of watching people still want to believe in a leader who was never a leader. He was always a parasite. But when it falls apart so bad that you have to be lying to yourself. Every Democrat who pretended Biden wasn't just a demented old creep was absolutely lying to themselves because they viewed it as our side against their side. And we can't admit that our great and noble leader is just this babbling moron now, which he was. Okay, so it was pretty damn pathetic to watch anybody make excuses for that. And even a bunch of Democrats were like, can we just admit the guy's senile and off his rocker? Are we really gonna run that thing? We think we're gonna win running that thing it's barely a person anymore. It can't make a coherent thought. So, having beat up on the left, now we have Trump. And lots of people even more zealously want to view him as their hero. Their leader. He represents us. He says what we're thinking. And he can form complete sentences. That's good. Well, sort of good. He's a psycho, so it's not good if he's better at persuading people. But anybody who takes a moment to look at Trump's personality and the way he behaves, the way he talks about himself and the way he talks about everybody else, to view that as a leader, you have to be either deranged or delusional. And most Trump supporters are absolutely, like, actively and willfully deranged or delusional. Because the example I gave to begin with, if somebody actually, like, he speaks our mind, he says what we believe, he points out the problem, and he describes the solution, Trump never did that. Trump has never been pro-freedom. He has never had anything like a philosophical principle. Make America great again. That's meaningless bullshit just as much as hope and change. Like, just shut up. You're just making idiot noise so the dumbest among us will go, yeah, that sounded like it probably meant something good. So, right off the bat, he doesn't believe anything. Trump believes in Trump. He believes in more power for Trump and more glory for Trump and more money for Trump and nothing else. And to get that, he will absolutely be a puppet of the war machine and the bankers and all that. So people who ever imagined he believed in anything were just making that up. They were just hallucinating it. But this is one step a lot worse. And this is sort of a test. What we're seeing right now is just how much people are going to lie to themselves, how much Trump supporters are going to lie to themselves exactly the way the Democrats lied to themselves when they were going rah, rah, rah for Biden when he was just a babbling, senile old idiot. Never mind that he was a piece of shit before that. Then he was just incoherent noise and, yeah, no, he's our man. He's what we believe in. What? No, he's not. You're lying to yourself. Well, now we have Trumpites absolutely lying to themselves. And if you watch Trump's behavior, it is not the behavior of an actual leader who has actual convictions and beliefs and has an actual plan. Not even a bad plan. There's not any plan. Not any coherent objection to anything. We're going to end socialism and then we're going to talk about the biggest socialist handout in history. Like the Doge dividends, which probably will never happen. If it does happen, it'll be a catastrophe. But he doesn't actually believe anything. But look at his personality. And what does it take for a human being, like a grown-up human being, to still look at that guy, Donald Trump, and go, yeah, he represents me. He's my leader. I defer to him. He speaks on my behalf. Look at the way he functions. So a video just came out. The particular topic is irrelevant, But his personality disorders and his mental instability are the point here. So, you know, the guy who got illegally deported, the guy from Maryland who got illegally deported, and the Trumpites are desperately like, oh, he's horrible. He's an MS-13 gang member, and we're gonna demonize him after the fact. Of course, expecting them to think in principles is asking way too much. The principle being, if somebody's really, really bad, it should make it pretty easy to prove that he's bad by way of due process, and then deport him or prosecute him or whatever. You're not supposed to punish somebody and then after the fact try to demonize him. Even if he really was a bad person, that doesn't make it okay to skip over due process. Take guns first, go through due process second. Okay, you're just going to pretend he never said that, I guess. But aside from that, there was just an interview, and it's fascinating. If you dare to set aside your stupid pack mentality and go, well, he's my team, and I'm scared of that team more than my team. My team's our leader. If you pause your stupid emotional groupthink for 5 seconds and watch that interview, you will immediately, if you have any brain at all, go, holy shit, this is not a leader. This guy doesn't represent any, he's this weird, juvenile, delusional, narcissistic, unstable, pathological, lying piece of crap. So there's this little exchange, it's going around, you've probably seen it, or you can look it up, where, so the guy they deported, then Trump is in this picture holding up a thing, showing the guy's knuckles, which have like, I forget, a marijuana leaf and a skull and a cross and whatever the other thing was. And written over top of that, it says MS-13. Obviously added to the photo. And obviously what you were supposed to think is that those symbols represent MS-13. Now, I looked into it a little bit. I could find absolutely nothing justifying that claim that those symbols actually represent those letters. But obviously the letters weren't there. The tattoo did not say MS-13. Trump apparently didn't know that. Because in this interview, it's like, his tattoo says MS-13, MS-13. It says it. And the interviewer's like, and it's weird. It's like North Korea or something, where the interviewer doesn't want to just say, what the hell are you smoking, dude? No. There were 4 symbols. None of them are MS-13. Somebody wrote that above that on an image. We don't even know who. The obvious implication is that those symbols are supposed to represent MS-13, although they give no support, no claim, and we don't even know who made the picture, so good luck trying to confirm whether that's true. And the interviewer did sort of say, well, you can interpret, somebody might be interpreting those symbols to mean that, but it doesn't say MS-13. And Trump was like, no, it says it. But he didn't just, it wasn't just somebody saying, no, it really said MS-13. Watch his mannerisms. This is a child. It is a delusional child, is a delusional, toxic narcissist child who can never admit he's wrong about anything. So, can you name any time when Trump, even about some little trivial thing, said, oh, I got that wrong. Yeah, sorry about that. Have you ever heard him do that? I can't think of a single example, even about little stuff. No, I'm always the greatest. I'm a stable genius. The way he talks about himself is delusional. So that exchange, if it had been between 2 adults, would have been the interviewer saying, well, somebody can argue that those symbols represent MS-13, but they don't say MS-13. And a grown-up would say, yeah, no, it says MS-13, right? No, look at the picture. The MS-13 was added, like obviously, indisputably. That was added by somebody to imply that the symbols mean that. And an adult would go, oh, okay, well, why does what's the basis? Like, a human being with a brain would look at that and go, okay, it doesn't say that. Instead, Trump plays the victim. You're not being very nice. God! What kind of demented, delusional human being responds by immediately going into victim? You're not being very nice? What the fuck are you talking about? You're a grown-up, right? If somebody said, you just said something factually wrong, you're not being very nice, and you've been given this chance to interview the great and powerful me, and for you to come here and imply that I could be wrong about something. Holy shit. If you're a Trump supporter and you see that, doesn't part of you go, holy shit, this guy is not connected to reality. And he's so surrounded by yes men that in this story that's gotten lots of play, and he was there posing with that picture with the superimposed MS-13, nobody around him dared to say, well, you know that's not really part of the tattoo. That's somebody added that. Nobody dared to tell him that. So he's not as demented as Biden was. He can form a complete sentences, but he's a child. And the people around him are scared shitless, and for good reason. Because just like our dear leader in North Korea, if anybody points out, that wasn't true, you lied about this idea was stupid, that's moronic, you shouldn't have done that, you're fired. Only people, I only work with people who kiss my ass and pretend I can do no wrong, and I'm never wrong about anything. That's the mentality that Trump openly displays and has openly displayed since before his first term as president. And the people supporting him not seeing it are trying to not see that that's what he is and that's how he functions. Another example that just came out. Apparently, some people at Amazon were considering, because they don't want to look like the bad guy, putting on the website, if you order this, here's the price of the actual thing, and here's the import fees. Those are called tariffs. Here's what Trump is making you pay for us to bring this into the country. We're going to put that on the website so people realize, here's the price of what we're trying to charge you, and here's what we had to add because this political clown stuck a tariff on it, which you're now going to pay. Now, they weren't going to be that, they were going to have that attitude. They were just going to list it as import fees or whatever. They didn't even call it tariffs, even though it's the tariffs. Okay, they were literally going to report a factual thing because that would serve their business to say, it's not our fault, these prices are going up. The price is the same, but on top of that, government's going to steal some of your money by way of a tariff. Here's how much they're stealing, which I'm all in favor of. I think it's awesome. What was Trump's response? Oh, that's so unfair. You're robbing people. Somebody was going to tell people the truth about exactly how much they were being robbed by your bullshit tariffs. And you send your blonde bimbo moron out there to call that a hostile political act. For somebody to say, by the way, here's the cost of what those tariffs, you're going to buy this widget from that country, here's the price of the widget, and here's how much you're paying because they imposed a tariff on it. Oh, that's a hostile act. It's literally just describing reality. So Trump calls Bezos, guy who owns Amazon, and bullies him into not doing that. Trump supporters, do you not see something weird about this? Are you okay with that? They were gonna put something factually indisputable to tell people, here is why this cost went up. Here's the exact dollar amount of what the tariff is costing you because you're trying to buy this thing from another country. Trump plays the victim. Trump is robbing Americans, and when somebody says, I'm going to tell the Americans how much exactly you're robbing them, this is so unfair, this is a political act, and this is hostile. Holy shit, this is as delusional as a carjacker stealing cars in a neighborhood, and somebody gets a picture and goes, this guy's been stealing cars. And the guy comes out, he doesn't even deny it. He doesn't deny that he's been stealing cars. And he doesn't hide. He doesn't try to change his identity. He comes out and goes, this is so unfair. So unfair. They're not being nice to me, pointing out that I'm stealing cars. Oh, never before has anybody had to go through something so unfair as somebody literally pointing out that I'm robbing people. And his response is bully the people who were telling the truth into shutting up. Trumpites, are you okay with that? By the way, once upon a time, I forget which gas stations it was, but a bunch of gas stations would have a sticker on their pumps. And I loved the fact that they did this for a while. Then it disappeared for a while. I've seen it again now and then, where it says, here's what you're actually paying for the gas. Here's the federal excise taxes you're paying. Here's the state excise taxes you're paying. Here's the other dumb fees that government is sticking on this. Just so you know, what you're actually paying for the gas is like half the price of the money you have to cough up. And that's not us. We, the gas company, are not charging you that. These parasitic bastards are. They're not phrasing it like that. They're just listing it. Here's the actual price that we would charge. Here's the federal and state taxes and fees and that crap. And they used to put a sticker there to tell people that. And of course, the thieves didn't like that. So they got huffy about it. Just like Trump doesn't like it when somebody literally, they didn't even do it. They didn't even get around to doing it. But they talked about the possibility of telling you exactly how much you're being robbed if you buy something from outside the country. And Trump plays the victim. He doesn't just quietly do things behind closed doors and let's see if we can influence. He comes out and demonizes Bezos, who apparently wasn't even his idea. I don't know whose idea it was. It's not going to happen now anyway. But they hold up a picture of Bezos. This is a political act and hostile. The idea that somebody might tell the truth. Trumpites, do you dare to just take a peek at the mentality required for somebody to react that way? And there's 100 other examples I could use where Trump constantly, he'll never admit he's wrong about anything. He'll hire people, they'll do crappy things and make a disaster, and then he'll fire them. Oh, that was like beforehand. Oh, this person is super duper the best. I only have the greatest people around me. He can totally be trusted. And he keeps doing that with like warmongers and psychopaths and like endorsing Lindsey Graham and doing all sorts of appointing warmongers and all psychos. And then when it comes out that, what the hell is going on? He'll fire them and pretend, that person's horrible. Don't worry, I fired them. Okay, dear leader. Funny how nothing's ever your fault, even though you're the one hiring these people. You're the one who was their boss the whole time. They did shit, it fell apart and made a disaster, and you blamed them and fired them. This is a rich, spoiled child who can't ever take responsibility for the shit that he does. Like his dumb tariff games where all he was doing is like, I'm in charge. I'm going to raise the tariffs 200 bajillion% until they drop theirs. Well, how did that work? It didn't. It made a catastrophe. And can he back off and go, well, that didn't work? No. Trump is absolutely incapable of doing that. Oh, no, the Dow Jones falling off a cliff. That had nothing to do with the tariffs. So the tariffs are here. Dow Jones goes, woof. Then you pause the tariffs and it goes boing. But it had nothing to do with the tariffs. Who's dumb enough to believe that? But worse than that, who's dumb enough to think that Trump believes that? Trumpites, you know he's lying to you too, right? You know that when he's out there with the tattoo says MS13, he's lying to you too. And the sycophants he surrounds himself with, nobody dared to tell him. By the way, this was very much a thing that also matches what happened to Adolf Hitler as the war was like not going so well for the Germans. People didn't dare to go to him and say, hey, Adolf, buddy, we're getting our asses kicked. Your plans aren't working. Shit's falling apart. Rumor has it, and I've heard this in several places from people who actually study this, that on his map with his like pieces that we're going to send this division over there, Hitler would pull a Trump, and he would start bringing pieces representing divisions they didn't have, that didn't exist. Well, we'll put this over here. And none of his generals dared to say, that's just a little piece of metal, that's we don't really have that. You just put that over there. That doesn't magically make a division appear, you fucking psycho. But none of them dared to do that. Instead, they were all like, well, he's going to fire us or kill us if any of us disagree with the glorious narcissistic Führer who can't ever be wrong about anything. Sound familiar? And instead what they did is like try to have him assassinate like the high generals in the Nazi army, or the German army. There's technically a difference. We're like, should we just knock this guy off? Because he's not listening to us, and he's going to absolutely demolish Germany by going forward with this idiocy, instead of just give up, stop, and go, whoops, never mind, we surrender. But he was surrounded by people because he functioned the same way that Trump does, where he's literally incapable of having an exchange discussing whether he might be wrong about something. Have you ever seen Trump have an honest exchange about something that involved whether he was wrong about something? That's fake news. See, this is why nobody trusts the media anymore. And by the way, yeah, the legacy media is totally untrustworthy. They're a bunch of liars, exactly like Trump is. And they often exhibit the same mental things. The difference is they're not that delusional and demented. They're just paid liars. The people in the media are paid to lie their asses off to serve a political agenda. Trump is that frickin' demented. Because a smart liar who knows he's lying, whether he's paid to lie or whatever, when he gets caught in a lie, he at least does something sort of creative to try to get out of it. And Trump will just double down every time because he can't admit he was wrong about anything ever, because he's that emotionally and mentally weak and delusional and narcissistic that he can't just go, oh, and nobody around him dares to tell him, yeah, that's not part of the tattoos, you dumbass. Somebody put that over, meaning those symbols represent that. It's not on his knuckles, you moron. But nobody would dare to tell him that. So now he's out there being an absolute moron in a public interview, making a complete fool of himself because he can't back down. He can't even pause to ask, wait, what do you mean? Because the reporter was trying to say, now, I'm sure the reporter's just a paid propagandist for the left-leaning parasites. But in that case, he was describing, well, you might be interpreting it and saying those symbols represent that, but it doesn't say MS13. No, it says MS13 right there on the tattoo. No, it fucking doesn't. And nobody told him that? And a grown-up would pause and go, wait, what do you mean? And the guy could show him the pictures, like the MS13, that was added. That's not part of the tattoo. There are 4 symbols. None of them say MS1 or 3. And if somebody wants to interpret that to mean, well, that represents this letter. Okay, that's a thing. Normal grown-ups, not even politicians, just normal grown-ups could go, wait, what do you mean? Oh, okay, so that's not there, but do those represent that? That discussion doesn't even happen. And again, I looked into it to try to find, is there any reason to actually think those symbols mean MS13? I couldn't find anything. So what we have is this delusional doofus holding up a picture. We don't know who made it. And apparently he didn't even know the MS13 was added, and nobody dared to tell him. The President of the United States is surrounded by people, and none of them dare to tell him, no, you fucking idiot. The MS13 was added to the picture. That's not on his actual knuckles, you moron. And then even in this interview, the reporter, because of how the dynamics work with our dear leader, if you want to be able to interview me and get your face on TV, you have to kiss my ass and never correct me on all the delusional shit I say. So the reporter, in that case, is being like really nice, but trying to still point out, you're just factually out of your fucking gourd, dude. Only they're not going to say it that way. Well, you could say, and it's so weird to watch because you have to know behind the scenes, there are plenty of people in his team that knew, like, he's he's walking face first into a wall, I'm not going to tell him because I'm going to get fired, because that's what he does. When his stupid shit explodes in his face, he blames somebody else and fires somebody else. Because that's how North Korea and Nazi Germany do things when they have a delusional God complex idiot on the throne who can't handle people around him who will actually tell him true things. And look how often that's happened. He fires somebody every other day. Oh, this person is just despicable and untrustworthy and just a horrible person. Like you appointed him 2 days ago. Well, we're going to talk about something else now. It's that weird. So, back to the punchline here. If you're a Trump supporter, if you've been paying any attention, this crap has been happening since the very beginning. He'd be colossally wrong about things, never take responsibility, never just come out and say, okay, yeah, I was wrong about that, but here you go. He has to play everything is a power move, all my gestures, the way I shake hands, the way, yeah, but you're a delusional, narcissistic piece of shit who can't carry on a conversation like he's connected to reality. But this is the art of the deal. By the way, I just found out, I thought, this one I looked into, I was like, was somebody making that up? The guy who actually wrote Art of the Deal for Trump, because Trump can't freaking write. The guy who actually wrote it did an interview and he's like, man, if I could take back anything, I wish I didn't write that freaking book, because, man, Trump is just this deranged scumbag. And a huge number of people have done business with Trump. He doesn't give a shit about anybody else. He'll lie his asses off and stab you in the back and bankrupt this and do that. All he's good at is bullshitting dumb people. Like people who can actually carry on a conversation, that he's not good at that. He can't actually explain anything. But he can do the bluster and bravado routine, and stupid people watching can fall for it. Trumpites, that's you. If you fell for his crap, you're the stupid people watching. At what point are you going to stop being stupid people, recognize what he is, and go, holy shit, like whatever our goals are, whatever our political beliefs, that can't be our leader. He's this weird, overgrown child. And by the way, there's reason to believe he is way, way worse than that. But I'm not even going to get into that. He is a freaking horrible human being. But to be exposed to these things, it's not like this is the first time it's happened or the 100th. And to give him a pass, never mind what that says about him, what does that say about you? That you can watch someone do this and your response is, well, he's owning the libtards. How many times does he have to get caught lying his ass off, and then he gets caught, indisputably was absolutely factually wrong, and can't even say so, and his supporters can't even say, well, yeah, he was wrong about that. They have to go, no, he was trolling. He was owning the libtards. He was just saying that to rile people up. Okay, so he constantly lies and gets everything wrong. Doesn't mean he's not a good leader. It doesn't mean you shouldn't adore him as your hero. It means he's owning the libtards by constantly delusionally lying about everything and lying to you and promising you a bunch of stuff and then not doing it. And I'll end with that example or that pile of examples. Did we all enjoy the live audit where they went into Fort Knox to see the gold? Oh, that didn't happen, did it? Well, did we all enjoy the end of the income tax and the IRS being abolished? Oh, that didn't happen either. Well, at least we got no more income taxes on anybody earning less than 150 grand a year, right? No, that didn't happen. Okay, but at least we got an end to tax on tips and Social Security benefits. No, we didn't. Okay, but at least the tax rates just stayed the same. Well, no, income tax rates stayed the same, and tariffs taxed the living shit out of Americans. And his response was to bully people into not pointing out the factual reality of what that did. What does it say about him that Trump was willing to blatantly lie to his supporters? I'm going to do all these great things that he knew he can't do. In case any Trumpites don't know this yet, the president doesn't write tax law. He can't change tax law. Stupidly, Congress gave president pretty much power over the tariffs, which they may ungive him soon enough because of the disaster. When it comes to the income tax code, President can't do a damn thing. Congress changes that. The president can't. So when Trump comes out, we're going to end this, he knows he's lying. He has no ability to do that, even if he had the intention to, which he doesn't. So he's lying to you to get you to go rah, rah, rah. We're releasing the Epstein files. They didn't. Did you notice they didn't? But they didn't just not do it and not say anything about it. They put on a big show with folders that said, most transparent administration ever, on folders that contained nothing new, and then they covered up the Epstein evidence. Do you not, aside from you feeling betrayed, which you should, because they completely lied, and now Bondi is actively covering up for pedophiles and predators, Kash Patel is actively covering it up. Not just they haven't gotten around to releasing it. Patel said, we have a truckload of this. Really? We haven't seen a truckload. Bondi said, it's on my desk. Okay, why is it still on your frickin' desk? You said you were going to show it to us. Weeks and weeks and weeks later. Trump pretended he was going to do things that he knew he was never going to do, had no intention of doing, because he was relying on you, Trump supporters, to be so fucking stupid that when he didn't follow through on the promise, which he knew he wasn't ever going to, that you would make excuses for him treating you like shit. Instead of you going, wow, he shouldn't have done that. That sucked. He betrayed us. Now, some people are doing that. Some conservatives are now doing that, which I'm happy to see. But a lot of abuse victims from this narcissistic piece of shit are still making excuses for their abuser. Meanwhile, they're acting like we're all tough and rugged individualists because we support Trump. And he keeps stabbing us in the back, and we keep making excuses for it and saying he's just owning the libtards. He's owning you, you dumbasses. So income tax didn't go away. Fort Knox, nope, that didn't happen. We're going to audit the CIA. Really? No, you're not, and you didn't. Well, we're going to end the Department of Education. No, you're not, and you didn't. Okay, but we're going to end this. No, you're not, and you didn't. Okay, but we're definitely going to do this. No, you're not, and you didn't, and you knew you weren't going to. But he thought that as long as he promises this shit, and I don't know how much has to get his handler's approval, or if they just let him go promise his ass off for things he knows he's not going to deliver, because that's what bullshit artists do. That's what narcissists do. They just make shit up. I'm going to give you all this stuff. No, you're not. I know. And you're all going to fall for it and be stupid and keep supporting me anyway. I mean, he said he could shoot somebody in Times Square and get away with it, and his Trump supporters prove that day after day. That they're that stinking dumb. So, this started about Trump's mentality. Well, it started with Biden's. Now Trump's. Now it's about your mentality. You're looking at this guy who on a daily basis displays his delusions and his absolute God complex lunacy, his disconnection from reality, and his complete lack of concern about you. He plays these tariffs games. He's destroying the livelihoods of huge numbers of Americans, not to mention huge numbers of people in other countries, by screwing with international trade. He doesn't give a shit. He's destroying people's lives. And now, slowly but surely, a bunch of Americans are going, oh, I voted for him, and now my business just crashed and died because the stuff I buy to build my widgets out of just tripled in price, which means I have to triple my prices, which means I'm out of business. Thanks, Trump. Does Trump show any remorse? Does he take any responsibility for anything he ever does? Nope, because he's a child. If you're still cheering for a narcissistic, delusional child as your leader, it might be because you're a delusional child. Maybe grow the fuck up and stop supporting fucking lunatics.